Hello everyone, I am back. I went through some discouragement and kind of took a pause to recuperate and bring myself back to center, so to speak. Good to do that every once in a while. Bring yourself back to center, not necessarily your center, but God's center. And give Him time to speak to you, time that you listen to Him. You're going to get along with what we're about to talk about actually. You sit and think and listen, you know, you'd be surprised the things you can learn, the things that you get from God if you just take the time to sit and listen. And that's what I was doing, sitting, listening which was the right way for me to go with this and things like that. And I'm back, so I guess you can figure out how it came out. And today, if you haven't figured it out from what I said, we are speaking on slow to anger. But not just anger. We're going to speak about the things that lead up to the words of anger, the being slow to anger, things like that. And it's found in James chapter 1, verse 19. And it says, "Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath." That's in James 1:19. It says to be quick to listen. Now this means to listen and to hear, not hearing noise, but paying attention to the one in front of you. Now that is something that comes up a lot today in the digital world. I see people in church sitting while the preacher's preaching, scrolling through their news feeds. Now, I like my Facebook because I ain't as anybody else, but I think God wants our attention when we're in His house. You know, you go on a date, you gonna pull your phone out and look at the news, and some of you probably would actually. You know, you should leave your news feed alone while you're speaking to somebody, because you want to be quick to listen. Now, I'm not talking about just listening to what they've got to say. Listen to who they are and what they are, what they got going on in their life. Same with prayer. You don't come in and just start praying. You need to know what you're praying about. Listen to the person. Listen to what's wrong with them. Yeah, they're the ones that's in front of you. And that's who you need to listen to. Of course, you always listen to God first, naturally. But you need to listen to the one that's in front of you. And whether you be on a date, whether it be a family member that's upset, whether it be somebody that's hurting, maybe someone has depression, needs someone to talk to. It might just be someone that just needs to rant. You know, I've got a friend one day, she asked me, "Can I rant to you about something? There's nothing you can do about it, but I just want to tell it to somebody." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And I said, "Listen." And she was right, there was nothing I could do about it. But it made me feel a little bit better that someone listened and cared enough to listen. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be slow or quick to listen, rather, excuse me. Now this, now if you sit and listen, it's going to get you further on other things too. Squabbles between husband and wife, co-workers, boss and employee, God and His people. If you sit and listen to the other person, it eliminates a lot of the squabbles. And if you sit and listen, maybe you'll hear what your wife is trying to tell you. Maybe you'll hear what your husband's trying to tell you. Maybe you'll hear what your child's trying to tell you. So that being quick to listen is in all aspects of your life. Not just in church, not just between you and God. Your entire aspect of your life should be summed up with that phrase, be quick to listen. Always. And it says here to be slow to speak. It's one of the other things it says in there. Now my dad, he would sit and wait, and he said, my dad said to sit and wait until you know what you were talking about. He would listen to a conversation for a half hour before he actually interjected in that conversation, Because one, he wanted to make sure it was something he knew something about, not just saying whatever he saw. But also, he wanted to hear what was being said, what the viewpoint was, what the people was thinking, things like that. So he was slow to speak. He always told me, you don't just talk, you speak. There's a difference. Speaking is something you do when you actually know what you're doing and what you're saying. There was a time, for me, it was in a church. There was these two guys, they was actually arguing. No, not right in the church service, but out in the vestibule. They were actually getting into an argument about what order Revelations was going to be in. And I sat and listened for a little bit. And realized that they were speaking about what was going to happen after the rapture. Of course, the church is gone in the rapture, right? So I interjected. After I listened for a while and saw what was being said and everything, I asked them both. I said, do either one of you plan to be here after the rapture? No. And this, what you're talking about, is after the rapture? Yeah. Then what do you care? If you're not going to be here, who cares what order it's in? That's for the guys left behind. That ain't for us. We're going to be gone. They shut up, went in, and sat down. Because I waited to see what was being said. It wasn't necessarily the wisdom of what I said. It was just knowing when to put it in there. If I had spoke before I knew what they were talking about, I wouldn't have known what they were talking about. I wouldn't have known what I was talking about. But it worked because I was slow to speak. Anyone that knows me knows that I take a long time before I say anything. You ask me a question, I'll sit and think about it. If you want to know an opinion, I'll sit and think about it. I think about it, everything before I say it. Before I say anything, I think about what I'm saying. And that's what James is saying here, being slow to speak so you can think. Not thinking what to say, but rather if the wisdom in what you are going to say. Is there wisdom in the words you're about to say? If not, don't say them. But you got to think long enough to find out there is wisdom in those words. You got to think and listen long enough to get wisdom in those words. If you listen to this, you'll speak a lot more calmly, and it gets us to the next point: slow to anger. If you wait until you know when to speak, you wait until you know what you are speaking, what you are saying, it's going to cause you to be a lot slower to anger. And not only you. If you wait until there's wisdom in what you say, there's going to be the other person slow to anger as well. See, your words not only affect your emotions, they affect the other person's emotions too. How many times have you been set off? Not because of what you're feeling, but because of what the other person said. Because they didn't take time to think about what they were saying. And sometimes it's hard to take time to do it. When you see someone hurting, it feels like an eternity you're waiting to respond. But you need to wait until you have the wisdom, until you have God's wisdom in you. Not our wisdom. Our wisdom's flawed. We need God's wisdom. If nothing else, you just sit there and shut up until God starts speaking. Let Him speak through you. Let Him speak His wisdom. You stay out of it, but that's going to be your best recipe. That's what my dad always said. Open your mouth and let God fill it. And that's the thing we should be doing. And are we going to, does this mean we won't get angry? No, of course not. Even Jesus got angry. But, look at what it took to get him angry, though. It took a lot. See, the verse doesn't say not to be angry. It says be slow to anger. And if you're wondering how you love your neighbor, we've just discussed it. Being slow to anger is the way to love them. Because if you're slow to anger, you're quick to listen, slow to speak, that's going to come out in everyday society and what you're speaking to them with and everything like that. You know, loving your neighbor isn't just about the things you do, it's about how you address them, how you speak to them. And the police officer comes up to the car and you give him an attitude and you're all angry and stuff like that. Is that loving your neighbor? No. Person gets in your way, you get in a shopping cart and you get all mean and nasty and you're quick to anger. Is that the way you're supposed to love your neighbor? No. You love them by being slow to anger. It's one of the number one key points of loving your neighbor. And if you follow these steps that James has laid out, you will show love towards your neighbor. God bless you. I hope what I've said has helped. Maybe you can pass it on to others. Thank you.